Welcome back, everybody, to Soccer Wise. David Goss and Jordan for an action-packed show coming up all about NWSL. I'm very proud of myself right now, Jordan. I'm not very, listen, I'm better spoken word than written word. That's why I do what I do. And I'm not very witty normally, but I titled it KC Currently Champions, Playoff Picture, and Balon Don't.
Wow.
Feel pretty good about that.
Who was your English teacher in high school?
Mills.
Yeah.
Miss Mills would be very proud. She's more proud of my sister.
Okay.
But
well, let's forget about your sister for a second. And Miss Mills, we need to talk about David Goss and how much he has grown into his abilities in the written word.
In your face. I gave my graduation speech in high school because we don't do valedictorians because we don't like to rank people and make people feel bad about themselves.
Okay.
So it was a competition about you like gave speeches and people between faculty and students voted. And it's like, well, if you're going to do a public
kind of the same thing.
Yeah, fair. It was like a select group of like 10 people.
Okay.
And it's like, well, if you're going to do a public speaking competition, I'm going to come in better than like all of the smart people. So I got to give my graduation speech, and that was my one moment to be like, you all thought you knew, but you were wrong.
That's pretty awesome. If you graduated from Green Mountain High School like I did, you would have been giving that speech at Red Rocks because that's where I graduated.
You know, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Did everyone have to rappel to get to the graduation ceremony?
Yes. It's a requirement. Everyone just wore those. I don't even know what they're called when you're rappelling. You know, you wear those things. Harness. There you go. That's easy. I should know what it's. Since I did it at my graduation, I should know what it's called. No, we just walked across the stage like normal people.
That's pretty cool. Was it full?
No. It's just like your friends and family at Red Rocks. But that I don't know what Red Rocks holds. Maybe 8,000. So no, I don't have that many family members.
No, you don't sell it out like Leon Bridges and Dermot or whoever.
No, right.
Whoever people think.
Jordan Davis, who I'm going to tonight.
Nice. Whoa, concert on the books already.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
Well, if anyone has any stories they'd like to tell from high school graduations, we are open. We are all
Come on
ears.
over.
I do know how to play Pomp and Circumstance. It's one of 2 songs I know how to play off the top of my head. It's that and the...
What are you playing it on? Sorry, I'm not sure.
Alto saxophone.
Oh, okay, great. Wow. Saxophone, clarinet. Nice to meet you.
Hey, we could do a little jazz section.
I haven't played in years, so probably not.
I haven't played since the high school graduation when I was a sophomore or junior, and it's the last event of the year, and then I quit. But you just play it over and over again. Pomp and Circumstance, it's like very short. You just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And we played it for like 45 minutes.
Oh, I bet for a long time.
Yeah.
And so it's ingrained in there.
And then the other one is the classic song that's like for all the ice cream trucks where it's like do-do-do-do-do-do. I want to say it's called The Returner. I don't remember the name of the song. And we learned to play that one as well. And I think we did that in marching band. So they are both memorized for me. So if anyone's out there and being like, oh, Red Rock sounds cool. Like, I wish I had a cool high school experience and you want to redo it, I will show up. I will play Pomp and Circumstance for you.
Give your speech. Whoa.
I could give my speech or someone else can give a speech if they'd like. Can I give my full secret here? This is my secret business idea. I think the greatest thing, like Etsy style, I just 20 minutes edit mainly wedding speeches. Like people are all 85% of the way there. They just need a tweak. How to land the story, maybe the weird thing about the person that they don't need to add, maybe the awkward comment that doesn't need to be in there. And it's like, everyone's so close.
Yeah.
So
you can help them.
My thing is like, I don't need that much money for it because it won't take that much time. 20-minute edits, available whenever you need. And then other public speaking engagements as well I could do.
Yeah.
But that's my dream idea.
Since we're on it, what would you call this company?
I should have had a witty name for it and something. Toasting. I was going to try and use something with toasting edits, but I don't really think that works very well. You know what? I'll spend 20 minutes.
Speech is toasted.
Yeah, I'll spend 20 minutes brainstorming on that.
Okay, perfect.
And maybe I'll come to something afterwards. But if anyone's out there as well and being like, oh, I got a big speech coming up, that I'm worried about or I need a little bit of help, I got you.
This is one of my favorite parts about this show is you just really never know what you're going to get at the
You
beginning.
never know what you're going to get. But I'm going to be heartbroken if I see this idea somewhere because this is my $1 million idea. This is my big one. This is as good as I get.
$1 million. You said you were going to charge that much, so you're going to be doing a lot of edits.
I'm going to be doing a lot of them because it only takes 20 minutes. Then I build a team of editors. Now we're all doing it.
Wow,
it's all about scale. It's all about buy-in. It's all about return. It's like a B2B situation. Business. So classic that. We are going to talk a little business at some point because we're going to talk a little bit about NWSL. There was a state of the league conversation with the commissioner, Jessica Berman, last week. That was coming out of a couple owners meetings. So there is some news there. Nothing breaking, more concepts to talk about. And it was also ahead of Kansas City clinching the first shield in their club's history and the fastest team in NWSL to do it. So we're going to talk about that a lot. Coming up, we will talk about some of the big results from the weekend. We had a few playoff teams play against each other. Not a huge gap between them is sort of what we learned. So we'll talk all about that as well as some teams that are making a late charge. Get you ready for the weekend to come. And then, as I said, Balon don't. Ballon d'Or voting coming out. Congratulations to Bonmati for winning it for a third straight year. But maybe some questionable decisions in terms of voting, populace, and chaos and lack of respect for a large amount of players, as well as people probably not watching a lot of games before they voted for that contest. But let's start in Kansas City. 2-0 win at CPKC Stadium on Saturday clinches the first ever NWSL Shield in Kansas City current history. They are on 53 points right now, 17-2-2 on the year. So 18 wins is the record for an NWSL season. Orlando and Washington both did that last year. Orlando finished on 60 points to set the record as well. We did this a lot last year, so we're going to do it again, not as much. The amount of teams keeps changing. The amount of games keeps changing. So the way to grade all of these against each other is pretty tough. What's interesting now this year is we have this direct comp back to last year with Orlando and Washington. So that 18 wins would be the record, but they are the fastest team ever to do it. That being judged by when you win it, how many games left in the season that you officially clinch. The previous record for fastest was 4 matches remaining. It was Seattle in 2014 and North Carolina in 2018 on the way to their double, and Portland in 2021 that all did it with 4 games left. And it has been done on the back of a 14 straight unbeaten streak, which is the 4th longest streak in an NWSL season ever. And it is an 8-game win streak to start that. To start the year, they have not lost since May 2nd, and they are now currently on an NWSL record 812-minute, 9-game shutout streak, which betters the historic run from Orlando last year. This is one other note. They are one of 3 teams to ever beat every other team in the league at least one time. So not a single team left that they did not win. I guess you look at other years, there are teams that held out for ties in both games, maybe a tie and a win, whatever it was. And I think it's actually fitting. The last loss on May 2nd was against Seattle. And so the way the league works, I think it is a symmetrical season of first half, second half of the year. So they've basically gone all the way back around from May now through September, and they knock off Seattle 2-0 in this one. Jordan, they're pretty good.
Yeah, it's just listening to you go through that. I think it took almost 2 or 3 minutes to go through all of the
brutal edit for Gregory coming up.
Yeah, but really it shows you how dominant this Kansas City team has been. And it also shows you how smart they were in the way that they built this team. So they have big players that have cost them good amount of money like Temwa Shawinga. But then you also have players like Claire Hutton that you get on a U18 contract who, you know, the next time her contract is up, she's going to be making a lot more money than she is right now. But they've been able to utilize different windows and different mechanisms within NWSL in a really smart way. I think we should, credit Cami Levin, who was there before, and Caitlin Carducci, who's there now as the general manager, and then Vlatko Ananovsky. I think there was a real energy about him wanting to come back to NWSL. And when you have that and you could work with a team every single day, and how meticulous he is with the details of, some of these things I wish I could share, just knowing how detailed he is and some of the conversations that we have with him in our coaches calls. And it's no surprise to me that when this team goes out, they're dominant, because there's no stone that goes unturned. They really know how they need to execute a game plan, and they've been able to do that in a very dominant way.
One of the things that's fascinating, which I hadn't really put together, is obviously this shutout streak for them. And last year it was like they had to win 3-2, they had to win 4-3. And then coming into this year, it didn't feel like a ton had changed. Lorena was the huge, roster building upgrade in goal, which I think has been a game changer for them. And what's actually fascinating, and you mentioned the people who put this team together, is the underlying numbers last year were saying that they were underperforming, that they were one of the best defensive teams and they were giving up goals that they shouldn't have been given up. And so I think it's really telling that they believed in themselves and like what they knew they were, rather than throw it at the wall and say, okay, let's go get 2 new center backs. Let's change our shape. Like, let's panic about this. They kept everything except the goalkeeper spot, and the numbers came back this year, and they are one of the best defensive teams in the league, and that is on top of their attacking prowess, which has adjusted slightly, right? The overall numbers have come down because I think they've played a little bit safer as a unit, and they play a little bit more together in a little more closed games. But I think that really shows the belief in what they were building from day one under Vlatko, specifically the one who's been there through this whole stretch. And you've seen it really come to fruition this year, Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah, we have. And as you were talking about that, I was just looking at trying to find some stats for Lorena, because yes, she's been great. She has the best save percentage in the league, 82% save percentage. But when it comes to number of saves, she's less than 50. Everybody that's in the top 10 is more than 50. So saves on the year. So she's not getting challenged that much. And it is bringing in Lorena, but it was also last year you bring in Kayla Sharples. Kayla Sharples has been the one consistent center back in the back line. And the other one, because of the injury to Cook, the injury to Ball, it has rotated a little bit during the season, but there has still been this stability to this group. And a lot of it has to do with the depth of this team. I think it goes back again of what you're just saying, how they built, that they knew that they had to be 2 players deep at each position, but also within that, know that players could play multiple positions within the structure of what they were doing. So I think it's a credit to, yes, Lorena in goal, but also this team and how they defend from the front. Like, their forwards are aggressive in their press, and they help win the ball back time and time again. So Lorena doesn't have to do all the work, but when she is called upon, she's done a really good job to make saves.
Yeah, she is. The first stat I always go to just on goalkeepers is that like post-shot expected goals plus minus. And Lorena statistically right now is the 3rd best goalkeeper in the league on that. And that's one where basically the question is, do you make saves you shouldn't? Yeah. And if you are like around 1 or 2, that's a good season. And anything else, you start to get into like outlier number. Mackenzie Arnold's at 3.4. Bella Bixby head-to-head at 2.6. Kaylin Sheridan at 2.6. Like, that's like, you're a good goalkeeper, and Katrin Berger as well. Like, you're a good goalkeeper, you're a difference maker, you're a positive starter. Aubrey Kingsbury is at 7.1 and Loren is at 5.6. And Claudia Dickey in first right now at 8.0. Yeah. But some of that then becomes game states as well, as you mentioned, of like the amount of shots you're facing and what you're doing. Overall, she's good. She fits the system. She is one of the better passers out of the back going long, which fits a team that can stretch the field. And if you press up on them, they want to go to the second level because Bia can bring it down and launch the 2 wide players. Or if the goalkeeper themselves can play Shawinga or Michelle Cooper over the top and into space, then they're gone and running and you're chasing them. And it's these levers that they can pull that very few teams can. And Shawinga's a major part of that as a cheat code, but Bia being healthy this year, Dabinha's played through the first half of the year, especially, and Michelle Cooper is playing the entire year. And her ability to be a game changer, therefore pull focus, the fascinating thing to me is these two wide players are so good that both fullbacks are like the leaders in assists on the season because all the space is there for them to take when they want to.
Yeah, it is so fun to watch both Haley Mace and Ellie Wheeler at times, but Izzy Rodriguez. I've loved watching Izzy Rodriguez this season because Sema Shawinga is not an out-and-out winger, right? She wants to tuck inside. She wants the half space. She wants that internal channel. So it has allowed Rodriguez to have freedom. And this is the thing that I think is difficult about Kansas City is, yes, they can go in transition, but they also can play it. It's funny because I don't know if I guess it is pretty transitional because they'll go through the middle of the field, but it'll be quick. Like the way that they build is not, they don't want to build slow, but they will also build fast through the middle of the field to open up the space in the channel, if that makes sense, right? It's not always over the back of the defenders and watch us run, right? There is a duality to the way that they like to play, and I think it allows players to get incorporated. It allows Lola Bonta to, as a 6 at times, be the player on the back line and stretching in behind. They have really found a way this season because every team comes into Kansas City when they're playing Kansas City and they're like, all right, we got to try something new. Right? Is that not the case? Like you see different tactics every single week. And when you're presented that as a team and you have to look at the team in front of you and say, all right, we plan for them to be in a 4-3-3 with this winger tucking internally. And now they're in a 3-5-2 and their wingbacks are step back and we have to figure out a way to break them down. When you're figuring out those challenges every single week and solving those puzzles, you have to get better. And that's what I really think the biggest thing is the gamesmanship, the game stakes, how they're solving these soccer IQ questions in the middle of the game and still finding a way to score.
Yeah. And the fight to try and figure out how to, delay this team got harder all year because they added the likes of an Ali Sentinor. And it's, I think that we talked about it when it happened, like the testament to this ownership group, which I think having the win at home and my favorite stat of the day is that the Shield winning t-shirts sold out within 20 minutes inside the stadium. So now they have to go order more.
Are you?
Yeah, not at all. Because the party on TV was like epic. And you're watching fans, Shawinga scores in like the 80th, 81st minute. It's on her birthday. She comes back from injury. She is going to win MVP again. I have zero doubt in my mind. She might push for the golden boot. Who knows what the rest of the season looks like. And it just felt like from that moment on, it was a longer than it had to be 20-minute party of soccer because 10 minutes of stoppage time and then into the celebration and all of that. But I think it's telling of like, this club building a new training ground, built this stadium, which has been a driving force for the team to play well. But there's no way it's not a factor in Ali Sentinor saying like, I'd love to go there. Like the team's good, all of that. But like, how could you not want to play there? And we had Brianna Pinto on Kickback Committee yesterday, which I'd highly recommend going to listen to. Awesome show with her and Susanna, talking about a lot of different things. Some of what we're going to talk about here today as well. But she talked about like, well, we kind of get up to go there because it's kind of really cool and like a really good experience. But you have to think it's a major part of the pitch to bringing players in. And if that's the case, then, they're going to continue to compete at a really high level because they're going to continue to be first to the door when people who are good players want somewhere to go.
And they're able to do that still within a salary cap league because of that. There is drive. There is the ability to get better. I think Ali Sentinor is a good example of that. It takes some finagling, right? It takes some figuring out how to work within the salary cap, but it is a testament to what they're doing there that as a player, personally, I would probably take less to play in that environment week in and week out, not just inside the stadium, at training, because you know that you're going to get better. And then by the time the next contract comes up, you're going to have more negotiating power because you have become a different player in that time. That's kind of my thought process. And it's been working really well for Kansas City.
Jackie D in the chat says Utah had a pretty good run since Sentinor has left. Just saying, fully agreed. I think part of that is causality and whatever. Part of that's connected and part of that's not, which was like, that team's not bad enough to be that bad the whole year. And there was injuries in the first half of the year. And some of that is that they've looked a lot better without her, and maybe having a 20-year-old be the number 10 and have to carry the attack and everything going through her. And that frustration leading to a lot of long shots wasn't great for the flow of the team. And that is totally fair. And I appreciate you bringing that up. Owen Spangler says that we need a nickname for people who are in the live chat for the people as part of the show. So you don't have to rush. I want to say we have our 20 minutes. That's my new thing now. We get 20 minutes to think about
definitely
everything.
Something with Wise, like Wise.
Well, so the Union Omaha, which by the way, our 50th state this week is Nebraska.
Okay.
They are the Union Omaha. They are the Owls. Right. And their supporters group is called the Parliament, which is what a group of owls is called. Which I got wrong
news
at
to me.
Bar Trivia. Yeah, which I learned because we were looking up like nicknames to use for something. And I knew that. And then like a week later, the question at Bar Trivia was like, what is a group of owls called? And I could not believe that I got it wrong. It was heartbreaking. So it's called a Parliament. Yeah, which is fun. Just like, what's a better name for a group of things?
No, it's great. I think that's great. And now I feel like the standard is really high for the people in the chat. And I need the 20 minutes now to brainstorm.
Yeah. Owen says that we can let it simmer and we can work on it. Just to bring back in here, you mentioned Vlatko. And like the questions coming out of the national team of what he would do, where he would fall. I think this has been obviously great for many reasons, but one being, I do think, and I've gotten this from being around Emma Hayes a little bit and talking to her a lot, is like the U.S. women's national team is arguably the best team in the world. And they're capable of doing things that are different. And, you know, them being a trailblazer is great. But one of the ways that helps is having people learn in that system and then come out of it. And I think Vlatko being the guy, even for the failures at 2023, if you want to call it that, whatever, coming back out of that and saying to the ownership group in Kansas City, like, this is the level. This is what I need for video. This is what I need for training. Yeah. And then being able to bring that to the players. It just goes, that's the trickle down of having like this top end thing. And he is obviously an expert at winning an NWSL. That's why he got the job in the first place. What he built over his 10 years, you know, in the league before that was why he was the national team coach. And a lot of people were excited about it. But I think it's cool now for him to come out of that. And we have heard from, you know, you heard from Lola Bonta of like, yeah, going to the national team was big, but it wasn't like a difference in intensity because like we train that way every single day. We've heard it from Claire Hutton as well. Yeah. I think that's a huge part of a 2-year sustained success for them.
And it's not just on the field. It's, you know, how do we go to the game? Vlatko told us a couple weeks ago that they all meet at the training facility, they eat a meal together, and then they bus to the game. He wants the team to be together. They give a hype video, and all the videos are all specific to whatever team they're playing. But they've implemented these systems that he learned when he was with the national team. He said, if we're going to be the best, everything we do has to be the best that there is. Yeah. And it is fine margins in this league. We talk about it all the time when we're calling games, and you know, you miss by a foot your final pass. That's the margin.
I mean,
and
look at Orlando.
Yeah. That can be the margin too when you're trying to build a culture, build a team, build a system, and they've really honed in on that.
3 of 11 Shield winners have won the championship. One of them was last year in Orlando. So it's rarer to do it than to not. I don't think we have to dig in right now on whether or not they're going to win the Shield or win the championship. Okay. They're going to be heavy favorites. Unfortunately, it's a year off, and they're not going to play the final at home no matter what. They're going to play the 2 playoff games if they win in the first round. Before it's single elimination, we don't know what the table looks like. We don't know what will happen. But that is the stats, and that is, I think, something that we're going to be watching now the last 5 games of the season is like, how do they handle not having a fall off and being in the best spot to go into the playoffs? But I do think the question we can start to talk about, is this the best team/season of all time? Because we did that conversation last year with Orlando fairly. They set the undefeated streak in NWSL history. They set the record for most games to start a year undefeated. They set the shutout streak. They set the wins record, and then they went and won both trophies. Last year, it felt really hard, as I said, because you had COVID years and you had less teams and you had different leagues and leagues where maybe the level wasn't as equal across. And it really was the two North Carolina Courage teams and Seattle in 2014 that we were comparing Orlando to, and it felt fairly tough. This year right now, like how much more do you need to see from the rest of the season, or where do you already stack this up?
I think right now, from what we've seen, they're like they have to be comparable to the team last year in Orlando. But we judged Orlando by the end of the year, right? There's still 5 games left, and I think that is going to be the opportunity that Kansas City has. I think last year they had the most goal scorers in the league. I think they had like 18 different players that scored a goal, something crazy like that. They're not going to get to that this year, but I think they're going to have so many of the records that we look at that make a good team. I'm trying to remember how many shutouts they have now. 1, 2, they have the 9 in a row, right?
Yes.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Do they have 14? Am I counting that right?
I have no idea because I did not count that far back. So
8, 9,
now
10,
we're making good radio.
11.
Let
12,
me just throw
13,
this in there
14.
while you're doing that, which I heavily appreciate, so that I don't have to count things. Last year when Orlando won the Shield, they won it at home against Washington. You were there for that game, and then it was like, all right, they're going to continue to set all these records. They went and lost the next 2 games. They lost to Portland, they lost to Gotham before finishing the year out with a win and then going into the postseason. So, like, there is some space here for KC if they keep the foot on the gas to really put some distance in terms of like just raw numbers between what a team's ever done if they want to.
Yeah. So I have them at 14 shutouts right now, which, if memory serves me correct, I thought it was 13 last year for Kansas City, or maybe Anna Morehouse had 13 specifically for her, but I don't remember her not playing a game. So they could win that, right? They are the hardest team to score goals against. They are the best team when it comes to points. They have this ability to go into games and just completely dominate. I think their style of play is perfect for them. And I think that goes into it, right? They play different than Orlando did, but with some similarities because of Shawinga and Banda and how much room they can create for other players. But in 5 games, I would be shocked if I'm sitting here and not saying this is the best team that's ever played in NWSL.
Yeah. Orlando finished last year 46 goals scored, 20 against for plus 26 goal differential. KC is on 40 goals scored right now, 10 conceded plus 30. So the goal differential is better. That defense is better, as you said. And I'd be surprised if in 5 games they don't score more than 6 goals and end up finishing with a higher scoring record as well.
Also, this is something I've been wanting to go back because I think Vlaco told us that they've only had 4 goals scored against them in the run of play.
Everything else is set pieces or PKs.
Yeah.
That's
set pieces
crazy.
or penalties.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to go back and check that, but it's a low number. I mean, you've only given up
right. It's hard to give up goals from the run of play if you don't give up goals.
Yeah, but that is another thing that I think will add to this. If you've only given up 4 run of play goals, that's elite. That's unheard of.
So Toros in the chat says, I think to be called great, you have to do it again next year. I think that's fair in terms of greatest squad of all time. But if we're talking season, all you can do is talk about one season. And like at some point, you always have to come back to what was the greatest season. Now, I think it's fair to say, like, well, the North Carolina group over 3 years is the best group we've ever had. And I would
call that like a legacy, or what would we call it? Like, I think of the Bulls when Michael Jordan was there. It's like a legacy, like that I don't know.
I always say squad because I like
squad.
Okay. I feel like that came from college sports where you're like, you remember a group, but players move in and out. Mm-hmm. I don't think Owen put dynasty in the chat. I don't think it's a dynasty because it's not purely based off trophies. Like, I do think Kansas City jumping to 4th last year and being in a context which they were in that top 4, that was the best 4 teams ever in league history and won a playoff game and went to extra time on the road against Orlando. Like, that was a successful year. Right. And if you win this and something else and you win something next year, it's a 3-year span to me, even though they didn't win a trophy last year. Like, because I assume the players will be very similar and the group will be very similar. So, um, I think like I get that point, and it may shade the way people think about Orlando's season last year going forward after the drop they've had, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I don't think it should affect KC at all. The assumption is Temwa Shawinga will win MVP as well. I assume Lorena is going to be front runner
Will
for
she?
goalkeeper of the year.
What if Gotham keep climbing up
And you
and
think
Esther keeps
Esther wins it?
scoring
Yeah.
goals? If she wins the Golden Boot and Gotham finish second,
she is currently she has 13 goals scored, and the team has scored 29. So she has scored 13, and the rest of the team has scored 16, which is absurd for the third place team.
Yeah.
I think you get into narrative stuff with this.
Right. I'm just saying,
I would vote for Shawinga, but yeah, you're right. But you also told me it would be Delphine Cascarino when we started the second half of this year.
I know. I wanted it to be.
I know. That's a different conversation.
Sometimes I pick her just who I want it to be.
Yeah, me too. And I think that's totally fair. Let us know what you think on this KC team. What do you need to see? And then if they win the double, now we're fully into that conversation. If they end up, winning that NWSL championship for the first time, I mean, they'll clearly be straight connected to the Orlando team, and then we can sort of talk about all the other teams and all of that going forward. Let's talk about the teams that are trying to get in, and let's go to Orlando. Orlando lost at home to North Carolina 1-0, so it's back-to-back wins for North Carolina. 3 straight undefeated for them. It has them sitting in the final playoff spot right now in 8th place. On the other side, Orlando has lost 4 of their last 5. Their last win was 10 games ago on June 13th in NWSL action, because they've been winning in CONCACAF action as well. From watching this game, I think North Carolina, you expect them to have more possession. I do think it's been a bit more direct.
Yes.
And I think the variance off the ball is what stood out to me. I think Weatherall pushing from the left back spot internally at times.
They played a 4-3-3 too in this game, didn't they? Yeah.
Yes. And so, but you think with that 4-3-3, all right, the fullbacks are going to stay wide. There's probably less variability inside of that. I think there was a ton of movement in that. I think there was a ton of options for Manaka to push in and off the front line and find the game where she wanted to. And I thought it was, a different collection of talent than we've seen start most of the games for North Carolina, but it did not feel the same on the tracks. You can pre-predict every pass and every motion. I think that's been a lot of what's helped get them out of the rut and back into the playoff conversation.
The ideas and concepts that this North Carolina team has been built on work. But it also, you have to have variability to it. You can't always say, like you just said, right? Like it's going to go here and then it's going to go there, and this is how we get out. There has to be a sense of playing the game in front of you. And I think because they have been a little bit more direct and less dependent on some of those structures and rotations, not that they're not there, but less dependent on them, it has given them, it looks like a freedom to kind of just play in ways and to be more aggressive. They're getting more players in the box. They're getting into better situations to create goals. And I think a lot of that is just, I haven't talked to Nathan Thackeray in a little bit, but I would imagine he is trying to implement this like freedom within the group. Like, you're here, you can make decisions, you know how we can get out of these things. Here's the different options, but also if that's not what you're given, go solve it. And so I think when you have players like Manaka and like Shinomi, especially Manaka's been one of the best players in the league this year.
Awesome. Yeah.
She has been a handful, and it doesn't matter what game she's playing in. She will float and find the spaces and figure out a way to solve the puzzle in front of her. And so I think because of that freedom, it allows her to operate a little bit better and find spaces. And it's showing. It's a late goal in this one. I don't think either team really challenged as much as they should have, but when it comes to goal creation, but it's a good result for North Carolina.
Shout for Peyton Linehan entering into this team, getting the opportunity to get the start for the second straight game. Both of them are wins for this team. I think that goes a little bit more of a direct style. And even on the goal, right? Yes, the game is broken down and open, but like North Carolina pushes in transition. They try to make something happen rather than being safe, being contained, and closing things up. And as you said, I think you talk about those margins, like with North Carolina for the last 2 years, it's been like if they could score this early or if they could be on a winning streak, they could relax a little bit and they could play their soccer without stressing in every single action. And it's what we saw against Angel City with the goal in the second minute, second goal in the 15th. It's like, all right, now we're cruising, we're home, all of that. Not the same against Orlando, but I still think now coming off 4 points in 2 games, a win, playing with some confidence, I just think you feel the game feel a little bit easier for them. On the other side, game's not easy for Orlando, as I laid out there. Have lost 4 of 5, their last win back on June 13th. You give up 1 goal, so the issue is clearly creativity, even though they have conceded more in some other games, like the game against Chicago. The big issue is creativity. They've lost Barbara Banta. That's been a massive loss. I think you're seeing some of the limitations to some of the players they have. We talked about Ali Watt when she signed with Denver. I like a lot of what she can do. Not as complete a player as some of the great attacking players. And I think you see at the center forward position, ball over the top, chasing, game changer. Into the feet on the half turn. Can you break out and get into those open runs? Not really her game. And that's one of the things Banda's so good at, as well as linking up with the players underneath you and helping them find creative moments. From the little I've seen so far, I think Ovalle is starting at a very high point of she's dangerous in the final third. I don't think she can get herself there fully yet because she's settling into a new team in a new league. And that's one of those things you're missing, which is like you don't have a central point of this attack for Ovalle to play off of. And with pressure on her and focus on her, it feels like a little bit too much. And Orlando has to figure something out to get out of this tailspin because the way it feels is this is a team that isn't going to make the playoffs.
There's so many questions with this Orlando team. And you wonder, because Ali Watt, everything that you just said it screams to me, she's not a center forward, right? She's a winger. Yeah. And now you have this predicament because Ovalle likes playing on the right, cutting in on her left. But where is Orlando best in chance creation? When they get to the end line and cut it back. So I'm actually going to show this in our game, show a couple of plays in our game. I have them on Friday of Ovalle getting into great positions, but she is so left-footed that the options just dwindle once she gets further and further down the field. So,
or she has the one where she gets to the end line and does cut it back, but like delays it a long time.
And then everybody's runs are too exhausted.
Everyone on Orlando made the near post run and overran the ball.
That is one of the plays I am looking at because but this is my thought process. Get your best players out on the field that you can get. A lot of midfielders are really good in this group. So can you push Marta to the 9? Marta can hold the ball up.
Yeah.
Marta can connect with who's behind her. She doesn't have to stretch in behind. Right. And then you put, now it depends. Like, do you want Ovalle chance creating in the channel to getting to the end line? Then put her on the left side and you let her use her left foot and you put Ali Watt on the right, or vice versa. It depends on how you want to chance create. And if you want your right outside back to get higher than Ovalle in some of those builds, because the builds probably will be slower now if you have a player like Marta, who's your target, holds the ball up. But there's no answer at the 9 position right now. And it just feels like, and we talked about this, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, about just like Orlando switching some things up. And you have seen Seb tinker and try to figure out a way. And I would imagine they are trying their best to figure out who are the best 11 at any given moment to help them figure out how they can score. But it's not as if they're not getting the chances. The chances are there. It's just this decision making in those last moments is not as easy as it was before when you have a Banda who could just dribble 4 people.
And you already, as we've said many times, like you're already carrying the loss of Adriana of like Haley McCutcheon I think she's doubled her career goal scoring mark this year. She went from 3 career goals to 3 goals this year because you sort of played her out wide a little bit. You sort of had her fill in more attacking spots. You've asked a little more of Angelina pushing forward. Like you were already carrying that burden. And it's only gotten worse with the loss of Barbara Banda. And now you're in these odd rotations where you're trying to find a little bit of an option. I fully understand what you're saying. I do wonder if, this team's at their best when they absorb a little bit of pressure and then you play Martin there and it's like one of those wingers is going to have to break out and be the run coming off of Marta. And so it might be more natural for Watt to come from that wide position or whoever it is.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like you can't rely on your 9 to be the outlet. Like maybe because Marta gets so many eyeballs and she is gravity, like she has a gravity to her. It'll suck players out of the space that then they actually want to utilize. So I don't know. I think we're all in the same place. Like when we watch this Orlando team, everybody's just thinking like, what's the solution? And I think Orlando's searching for that right now as well.
Their next game's against San Diego. I would argue that's not the worst matchup for them, even though it's on the road, because similar to North Carolina, like you're not gonna have the ball. So now it's to their strength, which is still their center backs, their goalkeeper, that connection, like that is still the strength of this team. Can you lean into that? And it's a San Diego team that is in their own issues and struggles.
Totally.
Which,
just last thing on Orlando really quick. You talk about their fall from grace, like from last year to this year. Last year, they didn't change their back line.
Yeah.
Their back line stayed the same. Maybe Corey Dyke coming in at the end to fill in that right back spot. But besides that, Nadanner and Sam's played every game together. And this year, it has been this rotation of players in and out of that whole entire back line. People haven't been available. They've had more games. So you can see why, if you take something that's stable and break it apart, that's going to create instability within this team. That's why they are giving up more goals. They've been a little bit more leaky than we've seen before. And if you're not scoring goals, you can't give them up. And that has also been one of the issues for the Pride.
Yeah, Shivushi's been a good ad, like clearly a talented player that will help them sustain success for longer. And Rafaela, we kind of knew, like coming back, arguably one of the best center backs in the world, like that was going to be a big ad. How are you going to deal with it? And they never really found a natural, comfortable way to deal with it this season, which I think is totally fair. San Diego, I mentioned, coming up against Orlando. They went on the road against Portland. This was the only two teams in that 3 through 7 stretch of every team that's tied that faced off against each other. That is the message I just sent you that you just received. And no difference between them. 1-1 draw. So both teams now sit on 31 points. They are tied with Gotham in 3-5 now, as Gotham tied against Bay. First goal for San Diego since August 16th, over 400 minutes scoreless. Some lineup rotation for both teams, more for San Diego. Some of it worrying. Delphine Cascarino unavailable due to a leg injury, and Sheridan excused for this one. It allowed them to sort of play some different options up top. I would argue like really 3 true center forwards kind of across the front 3. And San Diego came out and poured on the pressure like you expected from them. They finally get the breakthrough, and then Portland are able to equalize. You were on this game. What did you make of sort of the performance from these two teams kind of moving in opposite directions?
Yeah, I thought that Portland, like San Diego, should have been up by more goals.
Yeah.
At the end of this game, I think they're going to be kicking themselves because kind of similar to Orlando, I think maybe even more drastic. They create a lot of good opportunities, and it's just the one thing that I feel like I was struggling with San Diego as the game was played out. It was just so narrow, and it made it they are a team who loves to have the ball, but if they go quickly, there is a narrowness to the way that they play because you have multiple center forwards out on the field and they don't feel comfortable in the channel, even though Leon has been a winger for the majority of her career. But I think if they're going to find ways to be successful, they have to be more patient in those moments and utilize the width and stretch a team out in a horizontal capacity to find better passing lanes, to find a better final pass. I thought that coming out of the game 1-1 kind of felt fair in the end of it because Portland found a way to flip a switch in the second half and say, hey, we're not going to lose again at home. And I appreciated that from them. And that's the kind of fight and tenacity and stubbornness you need from a team going into playoffs. If you want to win playoff games, you have to have that ability to change the momentum of a game. And I thought that came through Sam Coffey. And there were good things for both teams, but in the end, if I would have looked at this game, I'm shocked that San Diego didn't get out of there with 3 points.
I mean, straight up, Dudinha should have scored. She was put in spots, not just like dangerous areas, but like straight up goal scoring spots. She's 20. adjusting to a new league. She is clearly one that like is going to be special
Yeah, she will
and
be.
was a great addition. And one of the things I talked about last week was like, it's a lot of pressure on these young players, Ascanio, Gia Corley. Like it's a lot on this team. You've added another player like that to that, and it's the right move, which is like, this is year one of Jonas Eidevall. Like it should only continue to get better. But you see the limitations on some of that in terms of not as much the finished product. And I think that's what you saw in this one was like, because of that narrow nature, she was the only one who ever went wide. A lot of stuff finished on her, which was like you're 1v1 on the edge of the box, or you have potential finishing opportunity for something that was created down the right side, and not able to put it away. A big one in that Maroney was rotated for this, like has been arguably the best fullback for the first 3 quarters of the season. So interesting if Eidevall is just trying to change things up and give everyone a refresher, or if that is a clear idea of like, if we can't score, maybe we'll throw 3 center backs out there and see if we can be a little bit safer. So something to watch out for San Diego. On the flip side, I didn't know the official confirmation on this, but Jackie D in the chat is saying Julie Dufour is out for the season. She went down with an injury in like the 23rd or 24th minute. It was a very odd play. It was a 50-50 tackle or shoulder to shoulder was what the referee said. And I don't think the referee was wrong on that. And Kenza Dolly felt very strongly about it across the whole experience, which was, I think she was heartbroken about the injury, but felt it was a fair play. And Dufour goes down, and Dufour has been awesome for them and had given them like a little bit more composure in the final third for a really young group. And I think that's a pretty big loss. Allie Dew comes on for her. And I think Allie Dew's been good this season, but like is not a full-time game changer in NWSL good.
And it makes me worry about Portland because this is now, it looked like a knee. I don't think there is confirmation.
Jackie D says ACL.
Yeah, I thought it was an ACL. That's why when I was watching it, I said, I am not going to watch this because it's hard. As you can imagine, someone who's torn their ACL 3 times, you don't really like watching other people do the same thing. That's 5 knee injuries this season for Portland. You've got Kaya Hanks, you've got Mueller, Payne, Morgan Weaver with that multiple knee injuries, and now Dufour. That's something to look into. You can't have that many knee. Yes, things will happen like this tackle, right? Yeah. There will be challenges and you just step wrong and that happens. And your body, when it's not prepared for those challenges, you can get injured. But that just, to me, puts off a warning sign. Like I said earlier with Washington Spirit, right? I said, something's going on. You guys got to figure out what's going on to keep your players on the field.
Yeah.
That was a hard injury. Hard to see Kenza Dolly with that. It's hard for Portland because they finally get another addition to the front line, and she's now injured again. But I will say in general, I think it was difficult for Kenza Dolly because Matt Beard was also one of her coaches and really close with Matt Beard. And so now there's the emotions of, I'm playing this game. Somebody got injured after the game. You could see she was really upset, and multiple players played for Matt Beard. And I think it was just a really emotional week in general in NWSL. And so it kind of gave me an opportunity to just talk about him and tell people to check up on one another. It doesn't matter if it looks like people are having a good day or not. Like, make sure we're kind to people and also respect that these players and coaches are people. And when we have opinions, sometimes it's best for us to keep our opinions to ourselves. Because these people are trying their best, and we are allowed to be critical, but let's not be inhuman.
Yeah. I think absolutely. I will say off the back of that, unrelated, congratulations to Rainier Reyes. Signed a contract extension this week. And I think we did our season previews for a while this year. And it was like, what does this season need to be for a lot of teams?
Yeah.
And there were multiple teams that we were like, show us your future. Show us you're going in the right direction. Be competitive. And I don't even know that Portland was one of the teams that we ended up saying that about, because we were so unsure about what it was going to be. And there was multiple teams that are down towards the bottom half that we thought this year would be that for them. And it's Portland who has done that. And so I think retaining a player who was a big part of your game model, who looks super comfortable there, who I think is a game changer from that position. The
Yeah,
way
I
she
agree.
can get involved in the attack and still defend at a high level 1v1 is a really good moment for them. So Portland and San Diego still sitting, as I said, tied on 31 points from 3-5 in the league. One other thing to mention, Obaze, who went off early hurt last week, which we were worried about, was available on the bench for this one, which is good for them. Two more games to mention from the weekend. Gotham, a 1-1 draw with Bay FC. There wasn't a ton in this game, but I do think it's interesting that now we have our answer. It's like Jaden Shaw is the 10, Rose Lavelle is the 10.5 or 8.5, whatever you want to call it, and Jalen Howell in midfield. And like, that's what they are going with, no matter who else is available, it seems like so far, whether it's Mitch Purse or Porchio or whoever out on the wings. And I don't hate the idea. Like, you've got these options, try and make the game dangerous. And even if it exposes you a little bit, like,
Yeah.
you might as well go for it.
I was going to say, I think that is the thing I noticed even with Bay. Bay had some success on both channels. I would say specifically on the right side, especially just like a pretty simple, like up, back and through. Yeah. And that's the space when you're playing down the channel or even in the half space. Like, if you don't have three midfielders in a 4-3-3 who are willing to cover the space and work back in those moments, you can be exposed. But I think what this Gotham team has said to us clearly by this move for Jaden Shaw and getting Midge Purse healthy, Rose Lavelle healthy, they're saying we're just going to outscore you. And we're going to rely on our back line because Carter, Sonnet have had a really good partnership. They have AKB in the net who will stop everything. So I feel like they're reliant on, we're going to score more than you. We might give up a little, but we have trust in what we can do defensively to manage, even if we give up some space in those central pieces of the field.
When I was cruising through the goalkeeper numbers, looking at Lorena's stuff,
yeah,
Ann Katrin-Berger's like actions outside the box are so far above every other player.
She's a little wild in moments.
Yeah, but if you're doing it almost double everyone else, then
right.
There's going to be questionable moments here and there, but it's clearly a part of their game model. It's an advantage to have her as part of the team. Henry Elliott says, if I called Rose Lavelle a 10 and an 8, can we split the difference and call her a 9? No, because there's a number 9 on this team in Esther, who, as we said, has scored almost equal to the rest of the team. The like interaction with her and Rose after the goal, I think Esther kind of was like, oh, I didn't have to score this one. Like, thank you.
I know. Yeah. Also, I think those two just see the game very similarly. So I would imagine that's a little bit of like not speaking the same language, not even talking to each other, but just knowing where the space was, occupying it, finding the pass, those moments that just transcend language that you're just like, that was awesome.
So Gotham still sitting in third place, as I said, on goal differential, whatever. But I think for them, clearly have found their level. The back five has remained the same now over and over again. I think that's brought a lot of stability to this group as well. The last one,
Jalen Howell's been excellent.
Yeah, she has really covered in that space, and I think this is her best natural position.
Yes.
And that's something I think you might think, because we've talked about it many times as this season went along. And it's cool that they've given her the opportunity and she's been able to take advantage and be healthy. Like, that was the whole thing, was like, can we see her get a sustained run and be herself? The last result from the weekend to mention, Houston, 1-0 win over Chicago, which we wouldn't have said was super impressive a month and a half ago, but Chicago, impossible to beat. And Houston have quietly moved into 9th place, 2 points outside the playoffs. They've lost 1 game since the international break. Of course, that's versus Utah, because nothing makes sense in NWSL. So they're 2-1-2 in their last 5 games. Yasmin Ryan now has 3 goals and 1 assist in the last 4 games. She has 4 goals and 2 assists across the entire season. So in the last 5 games, she has done more than she had done the previous 13 or 18 games or whatever it was before that. And now Houston heads to Washington on the weekend, which is going to be their toughest game left of the season. But it would be a huge statement, whether it's get a result or get a win there, to try and push their way into the playoffs. So a big close to the season for a Houston team that they were sort of the one I was really alluding to, of like, this year is just show positively, be going in the right direction. It wasn't that way for a long time. The style wasn't there. The connections weren't there. This is like the perfect way to end the season for them, whether they make it or not.
We also talked a lot about Houston, though, at the beginning of this season because they made all these moves, but they were all intra-league moves, right?
Yeah.
Moves to bring veterans in who understand the league, who understand the game, football playing type players, Sheehan, Colaprico, Ryan, all those players want the ball at their feet. And I think it just reminds you, Seb Hines didn't build Orlando in a year, right?
Yeah.
Vlatko didn't build everything that he has now in a year. Fabrice Katra, I think, was seeing little glimpses of, okay, we're heading in the right direction. And now after the international break, and you have time to actually work on things in a week-long capacity, saying, all right, we're going to work on this defensive action. This is how we want to attack these types of rotations. You can see that it just reinstilled what they're trying to do, and they feel so much more comfortable in what they're doing. And it might be heartbreak Houston kicking somebody off the playoffs on that last game, on that last day.
They play at 1:00 on Sunday. Seattle plays North Carolina at 8:00 on Sunday. So coming out of the weekend, we will learn a lot more about where teams stand at the bottom of that playoff race. We've got another, I don't know what you want to call it, the 3rd through 5th tied teams pointers. Gotham hosts Portland in this one. So that could show us a little bit of a gap between those two teams, which could be really big. And as I mentioned, San Diego hosting Orlando. Also another huge game on the weekend. It is sad to say that Louisville hosting Angel City is not. Like, it has really fallen apart for Louisville fast. They are fully outside of the playoff race once again. They've never made the postseason in the club's history. And Angel City also looked to be a little bit too far away. A lot of rotations to their lineups. Some of that forced, some of that seems self-inflicted. Maybe hasn't been the best path forward for them in this one. We have some outside of the field stuff to talk about. We've got the Balon d'Or stuff, which we did talk about for a while on the Kickback Committee yesterday. So if you haven't listened to that, I'd recommend going to listen to it. We talked about it with Brianna Pinto and Susanna Fuller about the voting and the way it went. The big conversation was that there was not an NWSL player in the top 11. And on top of that, the top voted NWSL player was Marta, who is the greatest player of all time. But last year was not MVP of the league she plays in, and was not even MVP of her team, I think you would say, with the way Barbara Banda performed. And Banda and Temwa Shawinga both finished behind Marta. I think Banda was 12th and Shawinga was 17th in voting. In the top 11 vote getters,
Banda was 14th.
Banda
and
was
Marta
14th.
was 12th. Yep.
Oh, Marta was off, right, because I said that. The top 11 vote getters, every single player played for either Barcelona, Arsenal, England, or Spain. For the most part, they played for both, which is Arsenal and Barcelona, Arsenal and Spain, or Barcelona and Spain. I think this is less a conversation that some players aren't deserving and more that other players are, and just the pure lack of awareness of the like global scene in the sport for something that is like celebrating itself and trying to promote the game, I think is pretty frustrating.
It's really frustrating. And I'm someone who said that Marta should be up there because of her performance in Copa America and what she did there on the national team. I think that is something that elevates her above those other two players who won, Banda and Shawinga, for me personally. But then I can back that up with why I think that. I think what is frustrating in the voting is there seems to be a real disregard for anything else that's not European. And so are they going to expand that? Will there be more people voting on this come next year? Because Bonmati, excellent player, but missed a big piece of the year with an injury.
Yeah.
And you're still the best player in the world? I just think it's lazy.
Yeah.
It's honestly lazy and frustrating because there are so many people that put so much of what they put their whole lives into, not trying to be the best player, like getting the Balon d'Or, but trying to be the best player that they can be, which they hope amounts to being the best player in the world. And it's silly things like, I think Emily Fox is a great soccer player, but I don't think she's better than Lindsay Heaps.
Yeah.
And they voted that because she's on this Arsenal team, who is great. But I just feel like there are just little things in this that just make you tilt your head and say, huh?
Well, and Jackie D puts this one in there, which is fascinating, which is like Esther was the Golden Boot winner at Euros. No, I think she finished. Yeah, she finished top.
She's 22nd.
Yeah.
22nd.
And that's one where you're like, well, what's the gap between her and the other players on Spain that she plays with, that she would fall so far behind them?
She plays in America.
Which, yeah, plays in a different league, is not being watched as heavily, clearly. I'm not like an expert on any of this, but like I watch a lot of soccer, and any phrase you want to use, best, game-changing, important, striking fear, there's not a planet where Temwa Schwing is not one of the top 5 in the world in that category.
Agree.
And what you said of like, you work your whole careers for things like this, like she deserves to be there. And then the other side of things is you'd be shedding a light, which Haley Carter's come on the show and talked about, of how much talent there is in other parts of the world. Now maybe you open up opportunities for other people to go find that talent. And like, none of this is you're awarding this. Like Temwa Schwinga has earned the right to be in that conversation. And even if you want to do the comps of the silly ones of like, well, we watch Alyssa Thompson play in the same league. How much better is Schwinga? Now she plays there. How good is she? Naomi Girma is this good, blah, blah, blah. Like you could do dumb stuff like that, but you don't really have to. If you watch the sport and you watch the game, like it's fairly
pretty easy
obvious.
yeah. And these players, like, yes, the other ones that are playing for Spain, Barcelona, England, Arsenal, or Chelsea, or whatever, they're playing some good games in the Champions League. But you're comparing that to every game in NWSL, which is at a higher level, week in and week out, than the leagues that they play in. So it just is, I think, a frustrating thing because it shouldn't be this way, right? Yeah. It's not, women's football is not the same as men's football. It's not. When it comes to where the talent is. The talent is all over the world. And I would say the same for how do I want to phrase that? All over the world when it comes to playing in different leagues. It's not so isolated in England and Spain, like these big leagues. You got to look other places, and it's frustrating.
So this comes now in light of, or on the back of, or use a different phrase that's correctly placed, Jessica Berman having this state of the league conversation coming out of their owner meetings and saying a few things. She has 4 key focus areas that they're making sure that we have the most exciting games, that we're driving the soccer narrative, that we are trusted as a league, that we're building the talent pipeline. Like 50% of that is just buzzwords that people say. And I get it. Everyone has to create a deck and give a presentation, not knocking them for that, but like, I don't need to talk about driving the soccer narrative. I think building the talent pipeline is real, and that conversation is real. We're seeing it with what we believe is the creation of a 2 league coming in, which was announced, but I haven't seen any actual details.
They pushed it a year, the second league. It's going to 2027 now.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a real focus, something that we're focusing on. You have now, of course, no draft, which I do think has been a positive this year on the ability for young players to come into the league and be difference makers and grow because they've been able to choose the spots that fit themselves the best. And we're going to talk a lot about rookies and young players and everything that's happened. We did a piece yesterday. The Black Women's Players for Change is creating a combine for the best young Black players in high school to be seen by pro scouts and college scouts. Like everyone's sort of chipping into this and building it. I still don't understand how the starting point's not just professional academies. And I'm not saying that that's like the be all end all fix of everything, but I have thoughts. I just don't, the foundation of a player is technique. And very often that gets missed because players are already the best player on the field and game changers, and winning matters, and it should matter. That's something you're teaching young players. But I think a professional environment builds technique the best way, and you have to be at least connected to high level clubs and helping get that there. And that to me is where I'd spend the money over a reserve league. but that's another conversation for another day. And then there was a conversation that Jessica Berman had about future-proofing the league. We are positioning our league for sustained success. We're in it for the long game. Our owners are investing in things that demonstrate that they're here to ensure that our league achieves our missions of being the best league in the world. I think with the stadiums and the training grounds and a lot of this, I think that's what she's talking about. And I think a lot of that feels true. But in the Balon d'Or conversation, the connection comes now to the high-level players, Alyssa Thompson and Naomi Girma, choosing to leave the league. We're all on alert for Trinity Rodman and what will happen next year as well. And Jessica Berman said, I understand the focus on the salary cap, but the way that players make decisions about where to play is a complex set of considerations. We will always look at that, not in a myopic way, but holistically. We're quite confident the value proposition we offer players is compelling and will continue to attract and retain the best players, particularly as we look at the focal point in this country over the coming years with the Olympics and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is not a singular reason why players leave this league. But when you hear Alyssa Thompson's salary when she leaves to go to Chelsea, you realize that it's a little bit about the salary. You know, it's a little bit about what you can make going somewhere else. So, yeah, we'll see. I think one of the difficult points of where we're at in this league is it has grown a lot, and you need that growth, especially from a financial point. I don't know if it's grown financially enough to have an academy, because that would be a huge amount of money to be able to sustain an academy, pay for players to get coached, play on a team, all of the things that come with that. Is there schooling attached to it? All the things that you can think about that come with an academy. And that is a really heavy load. Are you going to pay for that right now? Are you going to pay to increase the salary cap to keep players here in the U.S.? I don't know where you go with that type of money, but these are the things I'm sure were being discussed during these meetings with all the ownership.
And one of the things that needs to be discussed in all of this, which we've talked about on this show as well, is like, it is not between NWSL and the Spanish League and the French League. It's between Chelsea and Man City and, I mean, you can't even say Barcelona anymore, and Lyon and PSG and Arsenal. And like, that's it. And I think it's
five or six teams, right?
Yeah. And I think it's fair for NWSL to look at that and
London
say,
City now with Michelle King.
Yeah. And look at it and say, that's fine. Like, if those 5 teams are going to come and sign Giselle Thompson instead of someone else, that's going to happen. And it is what it is. But overall, we're the best league. I think all of that's okay. You just can't sit on laurels with any of that, because if you just look at the way the transfer fees are jumping, like, you're going to be chasing, and you don't want to be chasing. You're at a position of strength right now. Maintain that position of strength and put yourself in the driver's seat going forward. The last piece of news coming out of this that I think really piqued people's interest is the mention now that expansion going forward is going to occur on what they call a rolling basis. So there is not going to be 2 teams are coming in 2026. Everyone apply. The applications will be gone through in this. I'm sure you've heard any of this before.
I am slightly aware.
Any of this. And then this is the end of this. And if you're not ready on that date, you can't be a part of this process and you can't get in. She said, we'll communicate decisions when they've been made, but it is an open process. I think this is correct. Like, the league is in a place where it can afford to add teams if good teams are available. If it's a good market with a good plan and support behind it, there is no reason to close yourself out. Normally, the reason you have these restrictions is, one, pacing, like how often you're bringing teams in. That affects the player pool. It affects a lot of other stuff. I think with the abolition of the draft, that helps a little bit of, like, teams can go out and sign who they want to if they're going to do a good job. The other thing is normally pressuring local governments and places to vote on things and push things through. I think it'd be cool if that wasn't really a problem, because ownership groups were just going to pay to build buildings and play in stadiums, or play in stadiums that already existed. So we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if the language on that shifts at times of, like, we'd really love to have a team in Minneapolis, but we just can't find a place to play and we can't wait forever. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, you said it was rolling, so not really sure what to do with that. Last thing as we close out, our 50 state this week is Nebraska, which is not a big state, But Paige Nielsen is from Nebraska. Sarah Weber is from Nebraska as well.
Haley McCutcheon, or did she just play at Nebraska?
I think she just played there, and I think Creighton has a few good graduates as well. Where is she from originally?
I'm looking right now.
Okay. Jason Kreis is
from Kansas.
There you go. Jason Kreis is from Nebraska. Duncan McGuire is from Nebraska. So it feels like we've got 4 pretty locked in. If anyone has any recommendations on other players we should add, though, let us know. We will have our live chat tomorrow afternoon where we will close the book on the state of Nebraska, which we talked about a lot yesterday because Susanna just went there for a Union Omaha game and had a great time. I went to Nebraska on my drive to Colorado one time and stayed
Lots of bugs.
I didn't notice any bugs. I had a great time. I'm a fan.
Nice. I have only driven through Nebraska, so I'm not going to say anything. That's why I think there's lots of bugs, because my car always has a lot of bugs on it afterwards.
Jordan living the Nebraska life through and through. Thank you to all of you for joining us. Thank you to all of you for being here, especially everyone in the chat. Owen finished with the wise kickers or wise assisters. I don't know if we're going to land on either of those. So send us more recommendations, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.